So I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about a crime that I witnessed and what the role of the first responders, aka the serenazgo, was in this situation. So I had walked home from school. It must have been about 10:30 the latest when this happened. I'm upstairs getting into my pajamas, I believe, when all of a sudden I hear a blood curdling cry for help. Just like extreme fear for one's life, you could hear in that scream. The woman was just screaming auxilio very loudly. I mean, it was really loud because I was all the way up in the fourth floor of our house in Lima, so it was really loud. And I ran downstairs. A couple of my housemates were home, and I let everyone I saw on the way know. One of them joined me because he had recently been mugged, so he wanted to know if the same thing was happening to other people in the neighborhood. And sure enough, we step out. The woman who had screamed had been walking with her husband and their purebred, I believe it was like a Yorkie dog that they had, and they were assaulted while they were walking home from the store. This exact same scenario happened to one of my housemates like the week before. They were walking home, a black car pulled up beside them, and with three men in the car. One of the men got out, showed them that he had a gun, threatened them, and asked for, in this case, he asked this woman and her husband, well, told them really to give them their dog. And they, when they were refusing to do so, the other man in the passenger side got out. They started to hold down the man, and the woman ran and screamed for help. She screamed, we all heard her. We went down, we made calls. The serenazgo came by. Luckily, with her screams, she scared the perpetrators away, and they left the scene, and all of us neighbors were outside. The serenazgo gets there. These guys are unarmed people that the community, our neighborhood, has to pay to have on site. There's some sort of a tax for them to be protecting the community. And so they come, you know, they start circling the neighborhood, they ask questions, they get the license plate number. I'm sorry about that noise you're gonna hear in the video. But so they get all the information. They get all the information that we had, which, you know, wasn't much, just the license plate number, and they couldn't really do anything with that information unless they, you know, spotted the car and were able to do something. But being that these people were armed, they really were at a loss. They pretty much told us, you know, we're not armed, so we can't really do anything in this situation except call the police, the actual police of our district, which was called Pueblo Libre. And, you know, so they're in the process of doing that. They're trying to get a unit there of actual policemen so that something can be done. And finally, we're there waiting. The serenazgo are there with their lights flashing. There's a couple of units like looking around the neighborhood, and there's one there with us just in case. Literally, what ends up happening is the perpetrators come by in their car. They see that we're there on the side of the road. There's one ways in this case, so they came on the wrong side of the road just to like mock us, essentially, because they knew that these people who are there to protect us, the serenazgo, can't do anything. So they literally drove on the wrong side of the road, looked at us very mockingly, very scary looks on their faces, just like, you know, in a threatening manner. And I mean, literally the reaction time of these men who are being paid to like protect the neighborhood was very slow. They did chase after them, but it was just such a slow reaction time. And like the neighbors were yelling out like that's them immediately as they started to come. So you would have expected just a much quicker response time, and nothing happened. They never caught them that night. We just kept going in circles. The story kept being told to different units, and finally the actual policeman got there. I want to say like a whole hour after the initial incident had passed, and they basically just took the license plate number and did nothing really. They had it on file. Our housemate who had also been in the same situation, gave his account to the policeman as well for like God knows what, you know, he had done it at least 3 other occasions trying to get some justice for that incident. And so he, you know, shared his story again. Some of the other neighbors opened up as well about what had happened to them, because there were just all sorts of assaults happening on our block, which was pretty scary because there's like 12 foreign exchange students living in one house. A couple of our friends and roommates had been assaulted while leaving or coming to our house. So we were in this pretty scary situation, and the serenazgo were, you know, someone who we had thought were going to protect us. And I'm sure they can in other ways, but in this case, when there's a deadly weapon involved, they're pretty much incapable of doing anything, because, I mean, that's a big risk. They are not authorized to carry weapons, and so they really didn't do anything except take the information down and circle, and that was it. If I could say anything more about it, I think the divisions that exist within Lima are part of this problem. It like goes hand in hand somehow, because all the districts are so separated. Like Lima's just full of different districts, and the police that come, like all law enforcement has to be just from that district, and as soon as like you get into another district, it has to be the law enforcement from that district. So that's really unfortunate whenever there's like criminals being chased, because, you know, as they're chasing these guys, whenever they finally did get around to being behind these guys and following them, once they got into the other district, which was really close to our house, we were literally like on the border of Pueblo Libre and what was the other one called? Breña was the name of the other district. So as soon as they would go in there, there was no jurisdiction. They felt like they had to stop following them, and we were just at a total loss, essentially. The family that was assaulted, you know, luckily nothing happened. Their dog didn't get stolen. The woman screams, scared off the perpetrators, but still, like, there was just no real aid from any law enforcement was given. I hope this was informative. Thanks for your time.